Hey y'all, we're back with another episode of my Well Balanced series. Today I'm talking to Katie, who is a certified personal trainer and a health coach, and we're going to talk all about syncing workouts with your cycle. And this is just a conversation that I have recently become really passionate about, being a trainer myself, something that I definitely want to instill within my clients and my members and my personal training clients as well. So I'm really pumped to talk to her. And as always, it'll be saved on my feed for later if you happen to miss it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let Katie in. Let's see. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I love that shirt, by the way.
Thanks. My mom got it for my birthday, and I was like, this is interesting, but I've come to really like it. It's very, just, I don't know. It's got all the vibes.
Better than my boring black. You're bringing the color today.
It's pretty cloudy here, so I figured I'd definitely bring the color. Where are you located?
I'm on Long Island in New York. So
cool.
Yesterday was our cloudy, crappy day. Today, actually, the sun's coming out. This morning, not nice, but the sun's actually out now. Where are you?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So it's hot down here. It's like 80. It's really humid.
Already? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
enjoy that because it's like 50-something here, so I would take 80 over this.
But so funny. Like I like 50 though is like nice. You can still wear like, I don't even know. It's just, yeah. I like the 70s. It's a good balance.
I get it. I get that. If we could just meet in the middle somewhere.
Exactly. Okay, hold on. Let me turn my fan on. It's a little toasty. Okay, we're good. Okay, so thanks for joining in on this call. I'm super pumped to chat with you and just meet you, hopefully maybe one day in person.
I know.
But first of all, I just want to kind of do like an introduction just to kind of who you are and what got you to, doing what you're doing now. I love connecting with other personal trainers too. I don't have too many of those in the NTP world as well, so that's awesome. So go ahead and dive into like a little intro and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. And I love that. That's a power combo, NTP and a personal trainer. I love it.
Right? Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, so
also an orange.
Good for you. My name is Katie. I am a personal trainer and a health coach. And I kind of got into this world by default. I guess, a lot of people end up in this world because of things they go through themselves, and then it becomes a passion of theirs. And for me, that was the case. I always was into fitness. I grew up playing sports. I played club lacrosse in college. I graduated college and then I went into becoming a trainer, but I always had a full-time job, but I was a trainer on the side. And then I quit my full-time job and dedicated full-time to being a trainer. And it was like, a little bit before this, before I became a full-time trainer, that I started noticing some things shifting within my body, but I did not think it had anything to do with my workouts. If anything, I thought my workouts were going to help it. And I was always like a hardcore into like HIIT and cardio, cardio, intense cardio and CrossFit. And I trained at a high intensity style gym. So like that was my MO when it came to working out. And I just like, a lot of other people, I was always into like the way my body looked. And then of course, how I performed. So I always pushed the limits when it came to that. And I did not realize that nutrition played a big role in, what you take out of yourself, you have to put back in. Otherwise, your body is going to react. And I didn't know that. So I went years, depleting myself and not, refueling myself. And I got to a breaking point. I came off of birth control, and that doesn't help anything. But I came off of it and I did not have a period. My stress levels were crazy, like more than they should have been. My hair was coming out. My acne was terrible. My digestion was terrible. My sleep was terrible. Like it seemed like my body was failing me and I didn't know why. And it turns out I was the one who was not taking care of my body. That's why. So it came to a point, like a breaking point, where I was like, something's got to give. I went to endocrinologist, gynecologist, gastroenterologist, got all the tests in the world. Everyone was like, yeah, we don't know. So I started Googling myself, and I was like, I finally came to the point where I was like, maybe it has something to do with the amount that I'm working out. And it came to a point where I was like, I have to tone it down myself. So I started to just walk. And, you know, ask me that a couple years ago, I would have been like, this is not a workout. Walking, that's not a workout. But I was like, I just felt in me like that's what I had to do. So I walked for about 6 months. That was all I did. And, you know, it's a mental thing too, because you're like used to pushing yourself at the gym, no rest days, like 2 days, all that. And so when you're just walking, you're like, oh my God, am I going to get fat? Am I going to lose my muscle mass? Am I going to become unconditioned? And so like all those thoughts were going through my mind, but I just felt so terrible. I was like, I don't care. Like, I need to see if this is the case. Lo and behold, I was tracking a couple of biomarkers like body temp, and my period was a big biomarker, my digestion, my sleep. And as I started to tone down the workouts and eat more nutrient dense foods and things like that, my body started to respond in positive ways. Everything started to, you know, get better. So after that, I was like, well, I'm not going to walk for the rest of my life. Like, I love it for now, but what's a way I can, you know, incorporate working out, but not mess with my body? And so that's when I started to dive into the cycle syncing end of things when it comes to your workouts. And I was like, this is kind of complicated. Like, so I was Googling the hell out of it, looking for programs that did this. And at the time, I mean, I did not come across any. So I was like, okay, let me do this myself. So I started to create what is now my business, which is Tone It Down. And it's basically cycle syncing workouts so that your workouts work in sync with your body, support your body, don't deplete you, and allows you to get honestly better and quicker results faster, but, you know, without killing yourself. So that is how I ended up where I am today. The most non-straight line path you could ever take, but I love it.
It never is a straight line. It's always all over the place.
Yes, that's okay.
The story is so awesome. I think I can relate to that in a lot of ways. Like, from just going to Orange Theory was where I started, and just the hustle culture of everything, and just, you know, you just feel, I was so depleted and it was so terrible. And I was like, something has to be going on. And no one in just the fitness industry, like, teaches you that nutrition, like the real core of nutrition, you know, they're like, eat protein, whatever. They don't even talk about that.
Count protein shakes.
Yeah, count your macros and all that stuff, but it's not like in any way, shape, or form the depth with which I knew I wanted. So I think it's so amazing that you have gone down this route. And I think it's, again, like, there are very few resources, and I think it's coming up to be something, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But, and I know, like, since I've started learning more, I mean, I'll be the first to say, like, I used to not train my clients that way. You know, like, I was just like, oh, everyone's doing the same thing. Here we go. And, you know, it's just so common. But now it's like, if you're on your cycle, or if you're exhausted, or if you woke up and you didn't sleep well last night, like, do not even show up to me, because I will not train you. And so it's,
same.
You know,
I think
love that. Yeah. So I guess, like, kind of breaking down, you know, just the cycle syncing in general, like, starting with, you know, a brief overview of what the phases are, and just kind of like how I think it is overwhelming for women to understand, you know, well, what do I do? And I love these types of things, and, like, you know, just kind of where to start, like, with that whole process.
Sure. Yeah. And it was so overwhelming for me. Like, there's 4 phases. I was like, what does luteal mean? When is that? Like, it was complicated, and it is complicated. So the way that I make it easy is I compare them to the seasons. Like, that was the easiest way for me to remember what they were and remember, like, energy levels and things like that. So I'll start with menstrual phase. That's when you have your period. And that's, I compare that to winter. So, like, the mood is low, the energy is low, you're kind of more introverted. Workout wise, you don't want to push it in this phase. Yes, your hormones are at their lowest point during your bleed, but at the same time, inflammation is, you're more susceptible to inflammation. PMS is very common. So you don't want to force yourself into a high intensity workout, or force yourself to going to the gym that day if your body's saying, I don't want to do it. because that's a sign. Don't do it. So during this phase, I love walks, yoga, especially specific poses that get the blood flowing if you're somebody who has cramps or backaches to that area of the body. Movement is really good for PMS, but again, don't push it here. So then as you sort of come out of that, like day 3 and on, you'll notice your energy levels begin to pick up. After your bleed's over, that's you entering the follicular phase. So follicular phase is what I compare to sprint. So you start to come alive again, your energy levels start to go up, your mood starts to go up, your ability to work out and hit higher intensities goes up. So here's where you want to go for like your Orange Theory classes, your interval runs. You want to try new things, Zumba if that's your thing, hot yoga, because your core temperature is still low at this point. So this is the time where like try anything. Right after your period, go for it. And your hormones are in a safe space. You're not going to mess anything up if you want to push it here. So after that, we've got ovulatory phase, which is sadly the shortest phase because go figure, it's summer, the best time of the year. Your energy should be skyrocketing. Your mood should be up. No coincidence. This is the time when your body is able to get pregnant. And, you know, even whether you want to become pregnant or not, this is your body's main goal with having a cycle. So this is the time where you feel your best. You look your best. You probably find yourself posting more pictures of yourself at this time. This is also the time workout wise to push it. This is where you want to go max. You want to get your personal records here. You want to, you know, it's still safe at this point to push it, go heavy, go hard with the cardio. Nothing's off limits here. You want to be careful though, because this is the shortest phase. After you ovulate, you're going to be entering luteal phase, which is like the fall. So here is where, you know, your hormones do start at higher levels to start, but then they begin to dip. So the energy starts to lessen, mood starts to lessen. Also, your intensity for your workouts absolutely should lessen, not just because your energy is lower, but also because your body is more susceptible to stress at this time. So if you're pushing it in the gym, say 5 days before your period, your body's actually going to react in a negative way to this. And it's going to do the opposite of what you want it to do, which is probably, you know, gain muscle or lose fat or even get more conditioned. Your body's not going to respond in that way as well as it would in follicular or ovulatory or even during menstrual. So during the later part of your cycle, right before you bleed again, you want to tone down things. You want to go lighter on the weights, let your body absorb the work that you just put in this whole past cycle. You want to slow things down, take longer rest periods, and then towards the very end, you just want to taper off. Yoga, walks, just chill out, tone it down at this point. And then you start it all over again in the winter with your menstrual cycle. It's really awesome if you think about it. It's like there's no mistakes. Nature doesn't make any mistakes, and this is definitely not a mistake. So we should honor it.
I love that analogy of the seasons. I never thought about it that way. But it's so true because we kind of hibernate and then we come to life, and everyone loves summer, and then, you know, fall is just, I love that. That's really cool. That's really an easy way to remember it. Yep. So, like, do you feel like most women, you know, can adjust to this pretty quickly? Is it kind of something, you know, where would you say the main struggle points are for, obviously, if you're not having a regular cycle, that's complicated. If you're on birth control, that can be challenging. Mm-hmm. But, you know, any of the, just like learning the information and implementing this strategy, do you feel like most women do sync with it pretty well?
Yes, actually, because it kind of gives us permission to slow down a bit at certain times. And I think we all, you know, really kind of want that, but diet and hustle culture don't let us do that. So yes, I find I get so many positive, and maybe it's just because I'm only getting the positive messages, but I get so many positive messages, like so many people who've been missing periods and get them back, and it's because they slowed it down. So I think the biggest challenge is the mental aspect of it, allowing yourself to slow down, allowing yourself to maybe eat more, or, you know, eat some fats, eat some carbs. Like, we need those things. So I think the biggest challenge is the mental. When it comes to figuring out how to do it, you know, there's a lot now, like you were saying in the beginning, there's a lot of great resources out there that do help you figure out how to do it, or like my program does it for you. So that part I don't think is the biggest challenge. I think it's really the mental part of it. Like, you're so used to going 110%, 100% of the time. It's just, you got to allow yourself to slow it down.
Yeah, I agree. I think women definitely, that's something I see a lot, just struggling with, oh, I only got to walk in today, you know, it didn't count. And it's like, no, it absolutely does. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't understand NEAT movement either. And NEAT movement is something that, you know, I learned when I did the cert with NASM and stuff, but it's just the non-exercise activity thermogenesis that people do. And
Yeah.
that's day-to-day stuff, you know, that's doing your laundry, that's running errands, that's parking away in the grocery store parking lot, whatever. Like, and we don't think about that as exercise, but it's all encompassing of movement. And I think that we need to normalize that more in terms of like how valid that is. And the fact that, you know, you walked for 6 months, like that's a long time. And, you know, I'm curious during that time, like, what were the obviously you probably felt a lot better, but, you know, like with the initial worries of like losing muscle and, you know, feeling like you were slowing things down, that you were going to have to catch up later, like how did you feel after that?
Honestly, I think my body was so inflamed from chronic stress that I actually lost weight. I'm sure some of that was muscle mass. Muscle weighs more than fat or anything else, but I lost weight. Like my body was like able to take a breath, and I got to a point where I had changed back when I was doing my HIIT style stuff like every day. I got to a point where I started to lose muscle mass and I started to gain fat. And I was like, I'm not changing. I literally changed nothing. I didn't change the way I was eating. I did not change the way I was working out. Nothing. And I just think my body had it up to here. And it was like, it goes into survival mode. It thinks you're in danger when you push it too much. So my body stopped holding on to muscle because that's a little bit, it requires more energy for your body to retain the muscle mass. So it started using that for energy, and it started holding on to fat instead because it thinks, you know, I'm in a famine, I have to hold on to fat. And so it wasn't until that point that I was like, okay, something's going on here. So when I slowed it down, and I just walked, my body felt safe again. It felt like, okay, I wasn't working on, I wasn't toning, I wasn't weightlifting or anything like that. So I, you know, wasn't really gaining any muscle mass, but I was eating better. So I was holding on to the muscle I did have. And I was losing a little bit of fat, I believe. I didn't do any body scans or anything like this, but just, you know, knowing my body, that's what was going on. So I have so many people that come to me who want to work one-on-one, and I'm like, I ask them where they're at, of course, with their cycle health and things like that. And I'll turn people away, not because I don't want to work with them, but because I'm like, now is not the time. And they get very nervous. They're like, well, I don't want to lose my muscle mass. I don't want to get fat. And I'm like, that won't happen as much as you think it might. Like, your body's in a place where it actually needs this. So
yeah. And I think that, I think there's the concept of like even eating more automatically equates to gaining weight and all of this stuff. And it's just like, there's so many things I think as women that we working on changing, obviously, like people like you and I, and it's just, it's sad that it's gotten to that point. I think it's just like, we all have dealt with it at some point, but knowing that there are healthier ways, and knowing that the way that you feel truly is like what matters the most, you know?
Yeah.
All of that is.
Absolutely. The way you feel, the way your body functions. And don't get me wrong, that was a little mental. Like, I was at one point before my body was like, had enough. I didn't have a lot of body fat. Like, I looked the way I wanted to look, and I did have to, for me, this is my own personal, I had to gain a couple of pounds, and that was hard because we are in this world. So yeah, that's not, I'm not going to lie and say that was easy, but just seeing how much better everything is, everything works. It's like, F it, I'll get a new pair of pants. Like,
I agree. And it's like, it's again, like, you're, even as women, like, we're going to eventually potentially like have children, and, you know, our body's going to change then. And it's like, we're never going to be able to be what we were at one point to be, quote, you know, our best size or whatever. So it's like, living for that number is just not healthy. It's just something that we have to move with phases of our life and move with how our bodies were designed. And I think it's so amazing that you do that.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about like stress in the sense of like, you know, just typical thing. I think the sense of, you know, exercise being a stress relief, and then people in that state, especially when you were doing like your HIIT workouts, and I know I've been guilty of that too, you know, we tend to go into those stressful workouts, which makes things 10 times worse. So I'm wondering if you can speak on that a little bit, and like just simple things that can enhance your fitness routine. Phases, like universally, obviously, like such as I think yesterday was some posts shared, you know, not to, if you get a shitty night's sleep, don't work out in the morning. And like that was all stuff I used to do. And now it's like never again. Yesterday specifically, actually, I had a terrible night's sleep and I woke up with the intention to work out and knew my body was like, no, not a chance. And so I went back to bed and took an hour nap.
Love it. I love it.
And then I got up later and I ended up having time later in the evening and I only did like 30 minutes, but I was like craving it at that point. I was energized. I was ready to go. And I'm in my ovulatory phase, or like about to be. So it's like, let's go, you know what I mean? So I was like, but the way that you approach it and the way that you take the time to rest and release that stress is so important. And I don't think people really realize that. So I'm curious if you can touch on those internal factors a little bit that can make things even worse.
So do you want to know if working out is a good way to relieve stress, or sorry?
We'll start there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, of course it is. And for different people, that looks like different things. Like for moms, it's a way to like this is you time for an hour, but in the same breath, you can alter that depending on the phase you're in so that it's not added stress to your bucket. So, you know, like just being aware of the phase you're in, what your body can take that hour for yourself, but just do the right movement within that hour so you're not adding to things or making things worse. And in the moment, it's hard because it's like over time you have to kind of realize, you know, what actually helps and what doesn't, because after a good workout, a lot of the time people are riding on those, it's not just endorphins, it's actually like, you know, stress hormones that are going, and it feels really good, but then you don't realize it, but down the line that could actually be hurting you. So it's just important to realize what phase you're in, still take that hour, still get that movement in, just alter the movement depending on not even what phase you're in, but also like you said, a terrible night of sleep, like at least you went back to bed and then you did a workout. But if you get a terrible night of sleep, go for a walk. No matter what phase you're in, like take into account everything in life, not just where you're at in your cycle, like stress levels, relationships, work, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think people, it's always like an external stressor that we think about, or like the internal stress we never think about. And it's like over exercising and having that cortisol raise through excess, you know, workouts or lack of fuel or whatever, like that's making things worse. So the fact that when you were listening to your body and just went on walks, you know, like your body has to feel safe. And I think that we tend to forget that. So I think that's really cool. So like the other question of that was like kind of like just some overall fitness, like tips, like how to maximize your best fitness routine. And, you know, whether it's got to do with like macronutrients or hydration or sleep schedule, whatever it is, just simple things that you could offer that would be, again, kind of relatable to any phase that you would be in.
Yeah. So for any phase, no matter what, I want you to prioritize getting in a little bit something before your workout and a little bit something after your workout, because our bodies need fuel to move. We put them through enough. If you're putting it through a workout, like fasted cardio or fasted training, that was such a big thing. I did it. And oh my God, it's so not good for you. So always, if I would say like a blanket statement, no matter what phase you're in, make sure you're fueling before your workout, or forget your workout for anything. Fuel before and after you do anything that requires energy, even if that's just getting up and going to work. Eat. So, you know, people are so afraid to eat these days, and that ends up getting us into such a deeper hole than it ever would if you were to eat before a workout.
I agree. And it's like, I don't know, and we need fuel to function, right? And then like we're going to burn off calories and all of that, but it's just like you can't deplete your body that way. And I used to do that same thing. And I remember being at a workout and I was like about to pass out, and I was on an empty stomach. I woke up and it was early. It was like 5:30, but I was mentally like, I got to get this in. It was a horrible experience. So I love that I've learned my lessons and instill that in other women. But I think that we tend to, the breakfast thing and getting people away from the intermittent fasting concept with women, like especially for long hours, it's a whole thing. So I'm with you there.
Eat and rest days. That's another one. That's a whole, like, no matter what phase you're in, take a rest day. You need rest days. That's where the most work gets done. So allow yourself to have rest days and allow yourself to eat.
So on the rest day note, I was going to say, like, if you could do like a mock kind of a final question, like I feel like strength training can be very, you can very easily elevate that to be intense, or you can kind of keep that pretty low key.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, yoga, Pilates and things for a menstrual cycle. But if you could give like maybe like your workout routine, on number of days, how many days a week you would work out, duration, and, kind of like in each phase, maybe some specific movements that you would do.
Sure. So, for menstrual, across the board, I would say it makes it easy to think about it in like a 2-day on, 1-day off type thing. But at the same time, listen to your body. If your body's like, I do not want to go for any sort of, I don't want to do any sort of exercise today, let yourself have the rest day. Do not beat yourself up over it. And if it's, also, it comes into question, like ask yourself why. It's, if it's something like it's because you're maybe starting something new and you're like, I don't know what to do, so I'd rather just avoid it. No, don't take the rest day. Go for it. But if it's like you wake up, you had a shitty night of sleep the night before, like you didn't eat great the day before and your body's just like, no, you would benefit more from taking the rest day. So that for sure, like 2 days on, 1 day off to make it sort of easy, gives you a good amount of work for the week and also a good amount of rest. For menstrual phase, now you were saying like what are like the best styles of workouts across the phases, or?
Yeah, styles, durations,
okay.
like just things maybe you would do.
Yeah. So styles, the way I have it programmed in Tone It Down is the lower intensity, lower weights, just more full body movement type days are in the menstrual phase. So I don't push it in the menstrual phase. Then we got into follicular. That's where I introduce cardio. That's where I introduce bumping up the weights. That's where the workouts get a bit longer. Ovulatory phase is where you go max out with your weights. If you want to see how heavy you can go, this is the time to do it, because not only is your body okay in an okay spot to do it, but your muscles are going to be more primed for this at this point. You'll be able to lift heavier. Like if you were to try something in late luteal and you're like, I just did that 2 weeks ago in ovulatory, I can't do it now. There's a reason for that. So ovulatory, go heavy, go intense. Do your high intensity interval training, runs or swims or whatever you do. Luteal phase, this is where beginning of the luteal phase, still strength train. Go heavy here, but slow down the movements. Focus on the intention of the movement and connect your mind to your muscle here. Don't be so focused on power and going all out. Now is where you're like, okay, let's think about the muscle groups I'm using, but still, you can still get a longer set in here. Middle to the end of luteal, this is where I want you to lessen the intensity, lessen the weights, no cardio here, or minimal cardio here, and lessen the duration of the workouts too. And then right before your workout, it's kind of like a little roller coaster. You go up and then you go down. So
I love that. Yeah, no, I think like if I feel like strength training is kind of what I end up doing most of the time, but it just the intensity. And like you said, the intention of the movement is really what matters. You just kind of change that up. I personally don't love a bunch of cardio anymore, but if I do it, it's during the ovulatory phase, late follicular. But if it is cardio, I like things like burpees and, whatever. I'm not going to run 10 miles. But I think the coolest thing about this whole thing is that it's very personalized and you can kind of cater it to what you like. And I think a lot of women think like, oh, I've got to give up this movement that I love or this type of exercise that I love. And it's like, no, you just have to sync it correctly for it to be working efficiently and in your favor.
Yep, absolutely. And you are right. I like how you said it's personalized. Like you can take control over your workouts back. You can take it back because we're so used to like going to classes and doing what they tell us to do, no matter what day it is, no matter how you feel that day. If you start doing it yourself and implementing this stuff yourself, it's so nice to like tune into your body and be like, what do I want to do today? Okay, that would feel good. Let me do it. It's like you get I got so connected to my body going through all of this that it's like I know myself better than I've ever known myself before. And I've always been in this body, so.
Right. We only have one.
Yeah.
Well, to finish up, I love this conversation, and I'm going to save it on my feed. But can you share like kind of how people can get in touch with you and then a little bit about your services and what that looks like for anyone that might be interested?
Sure. So if you go right to my Instagram, Tone It Down with 4 N's for the 4 phases. It
I
is.
wondered about that. I was like, how many N's? Did she like just not have an Instagram name that was available?
Yes, well, that was why. But then I chose
Makes
the
sense.
4 N. I'm like, yeah, 4 for the 4 phases, sure. But yeah, regular Tone It Down was taken, so I made do with what I had.
Okay.
But so
like
you
it.
can go to Tone It Down, and then the link in my bio takes you right to my website, or you could just go to toneitdown4ns.com, and everything is there. In the Let's Get Started or the Get Started tab, that's where all the options to work with me. I have a one-on-one option. I have a self-guided option, which is just like a month. Every month you get a new set of 21 workouts that go through all the phases. And then I also have it's called Tone It Down Build. It's my newest program, and it focuses on progressive overload, so strength training. And I started that a month or so ago, and it's going very well. And I think, strength training is so important for women, especially women who do have certain things like PCOS, and, to have muscle mass on the body is a very beneficial thing. So this one is kind of taken off. So
that's awesome.
There's 3 different options for now.
Is it where like you send workouts and people do them on their own, or are you kind of live guiding them, or what is that process?
Yeah, it's kind of a crossover between the self-guided option and the working one-on-one with me option. So I give you a program depending on the phase you're in. For the week, we have a weekly call, and we'll go over the wins from the week before, if you had any struggles, and what to expect for the next week. And then I'll send you the programming with all demo videos, so you'll know what to do. But it's on you to get to do it.
Right. Hey, got to be motivated to do these things. I feel like if you're not, then there's only so much we can do. So
right.
But I love this so much, and I will definitely support you and share. I don't do as much. I'm trying to wean out of the training side, so I'm definitely interested in having a resource in that area, and maybe partner in that sense. But I would definitely love to support, and probably will do one of those once myself. Just sometimes I get tired of writing my own workouts.
Oh, I feel that. Just go to my feed. I got a ton of free ones on there.
I'll do it. Well, I enjoyed this, and I'm going to put it on my feed for anyone that wants to watch it. But I thank you for hopping on. And
thank you, Kel, so much. So much.
Of course. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Katie.